The third rail of adulthood. Don't you dare question someone's parenting. Hey, making a few poor choices regarding your kids doesn't make you a bad parent. Allowing your ego to keep you from making adjustments probably does. Let's talk about that.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Lift off and the clock has started.
Hey now. Good day to each and every one of you bright, shining souls, wherever you may be, across the fruited plain and around this glorious globe, and welcome to Balanced Fit Radio. We're talking about strength, meaning, and the human experience. I'm your host, Scott Schroeder, and I'm a certified personal trainer and nutrition coach. Balanced Fit Radio is where fitness meets psychology and philosophy in everyday life, because true wellness is about more than just the body. It's about living in balance through strength, resilience, and capability. Let's get after it, shall we? I went to the doctor the other day, and I told him, I was like, hey, I broke my arm in 2 places. And he said, hey, maybe you stop going to those places. Thank you very little. Anyway, all right. I come to you today. You might notice that I'm alone, solo, by myself. All my girls are out of town, and I've been left to my own devices for the last 5 or 6 days, and things are fine. By the way, the house is tidy, clean, orderly, and the dishwasher currently only contains 1 bowl, 1 fork, and 1 spoon. There are not 37 knives in the flatware holder. If you know, you know. But anyway, I've been working on this particular episode for a while, and I've had Lacey with me sitting in, and I've had Meredith with me, and we're going to continue to have a few other guests and co-hosts and things like that. But this is a subject that is very near and dear to me, given what I've been doing for the last few years and raising my own kid. And I really wanted to get this out there, and this really works as one of my monologue solo episodes, but I am going to bring some other parents in to discuss this, parents of kids of various ages, to discuss their thoughts on what I'm about to say and discuss what their challenges are and maybe help offer a few more solutions. So here we go. Have you ever tried to build an airplane while flying it? That's parenting. The funny thing about being a parent, it's a lot of trial and error. No matter how much you educate yourself, no matter how much prep you do, no matter how many books, videos, and seminars you consume, no matter what, there is no way you can be fully prepared for the journey. Now, I want you to remember that statement as we go through this, because it's going to get a bit uncomfortable for a lot of you. Remember the foundation of love and empathy and understanding with which I began the opening statement. Okay? Okay. There are only 2 things you can really control as a parent. Love your kids unconditionally and do your absolute best to send them into adulthood as functioning humans. The rest is dealing with whatever comes your way to the best of your ability. This means making adjustments from the 1,000,001 failures every single one of us faces. Failure is going to happen a lot, but that's okay because kids are super duper resilient. Failure only becomes a problem when we allow our fragile egos to block input that will absolutely help our kids grow stronger, healthier, more balanced, and more well. A few days ago, I finished a 2-year run as a field trip coordinator and coach at a gym that specializes in training ninja parkour, tricking, and movement skills. For 2 years, I supervised and coached kids from age 5 through mid-teens. The work, loved it. Extremely rewarding, teaching kids about the importance of physical movement and play, failing and succeeding at difficult things, using their minds and bodies as a unit, and proper nutrition and hydration. It's wonderful. But there was also a nearly overwhelming amount of alarm at the number of these kids who were obese and nearly non-functional physically and cognitively. The norm, not the outlier, but the norm, was showing kids that minor discomfort like hanging by their hands from rings or a bar wasn't pain or danger, just discomfort. Discomfort's okay. The norm was 7, 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old kids being nearly immobile because of obesity. The norm was teaching them rudimentary coordination and agility games and watching them stand there like zombies as they just allowed themselves to get hit in the face with a squishy foam ball that was underhand tossed from 5 feet away. And the heartbreaking thing of this is clearly no one in their lives had ever thrown them a ball. This is not okay. About 21% of U.S. children are obese. 30% are either obese or overweight. Honestly, I think these numbers are understated. Chronic conditions affect nearly 45% of children. Do you hear that? Nearly half of children in this country are affected by chronic diseases. Obesity is a leading cause of common illnesses like asthma, anxiety, and depression, and obesity causes long-term health risks like heart disease and type 2 diabetes as kids grow up. Our kids are hurting, and their future is in jeopardy because of what we're doing to them, and it's well past time to put ego aside, stop worrying about feelings, accept that we don't know what we don't know, and be open to concepts that will rescue their future from the prison of chronic disease and drug dependency. There are 4 vectors, 4 avenues through which kids are losing their chances of having a healthier life. Sedentary lifestyle, screen time, interpersonal relationships, and catastrophically poor nutrition. The first 2 are inextricably linked, and the third is tangential to those 2. Kids aren't getting enough, if any, vigorous physical activity, and the foremost reason is screen time. The average preteen, that's ages 8 to 12, spends about 4 to 6 hours per day on recreational screen media. The average teenager spends roughly 7 to 9 hours per day on screens for entertainment and social media. This accounts for nearly half of their waking hours, and it excludes device usage required for schoolwork. In what psychotic universe is this not an existential crisis? The physical, intellectual, and emotional damage being inflicted upon the developing minds and bodies of children through screen addiction is as comprehensive as it is catastrophic. For nearly 100 years, cognitive test scores and IQs consistently rose with each generation. This is a phenomenon known as the Flynn effect. Recent neurological research suggests this long-standing trend has reversed for Gen Z, with documented declines in basic attention, literacy, memory, and executive function. Take this simmering stew and add social isolation, which sneaks in perniciously disguised as digital interaction, and you have a recipe for multi-generational cataclysm. The 4th vector of wellness deconstruction cannot be classified as simply poor nutrition. The human species has survived for 300,000 years basically on whatever the local environment provided. There was scarcely an abundance or balance of nutrition available for all but about the last 75 of these 300,000 years. What's happening today transcends mere poor nutrition. The gluttonous overabundance of hyper-processed, hyper-palatable, chemically and genetically altered consumer goods that doesn't even qualify as actual food has led to systemically engineered obesity, chronic disease, and a shutdown of proper bodily functions. So let's take a step back from the small picture of handing a kid a bag of Skittles and an iPad and look at the whole of what is happening. Poor nutrition, sedentary habits, and social isolation create a destructive, interconnected feedback loop in children. A nutrient-poor diet causes energy crashes and physical issues, fueling a sedentary, screen-heavy lifestyle. This isolation stifles interpersonal development, ultimately compounding emotional distress, academic struggles, and severe physical health risks. The interconnected impacts on a child's development trigger a cascade of negative effects. The nutritional cognitive link. Brain function. Insufficient key nutrients and high sugar diets directly hinder executive functioning. What is executive function? Think of it as the brain's management system. Poor nutrition in children leads to impaired working memory, diminished attention spans, and reduced planning abilities. Academic decline, right there with it. Poor nutrition correlates heavily with lower IQ scores, diminished class grades, and behavioral challenges in classroom settings. Number 2, the physical sedentary vicious cycle. Metabolic and chronic risks are replete. Lack of physical activity combined with a poor diet rapidly increases the risk of childhood obesity, type 2 diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. That gives a fatigue effect. A diet lacking proper fuel leaves children feeling lethargic, drastically reducing their motivation to engage in physical activity and deepening their sedentary behavior. This affects the somatic symptoms. Inactivity and poor dietary choices frequently trigger chronic musculoskeletal discomfort and poor sleep quality. The third one, the social isolation spiral. Sedentary behavior, particularly excessive screen time and isolation from peer groups, stunts the development of emotional regulation and critical social skills. This is emotional detachment. Poor nutrition paired with isolation can harm a child's capacity to form healthy attachments with caregivers and peers. And the behavioral fallout? Well, this trifecta leaves children ill-equipped to handle stress. The resulting frustration often manifests as heightened anxiety, depressive symptoms, aggression, or withdrawal. Sound familiar? The long-term domino effect of these persistent deficits. Cognitive and emotional setbacks experienced in early childhood can persist into later grades and adulthood, lowering future academic and economic opportunities. Now, I didn't make any of that up, and it's not anecdotal. That's information from the National Institutes of Health. But you don't need an academic study and a report to tell you something is wrong. Just look around. Our kids are hurting inside and out, and we need to take action. A fat kid is not cute, and it's not about image or appearance. Their absolute future is being drained from them before they can even get started in life. But what do? How can you look across this broken human landscape and help 100 million sick and struggling kids? You can't. You can only work on doing better inside your own four walls. Start here. Keep as much whole food in the house as possible. Food is expensive and time is limited. You don't have to make every meal an experience, nor do you need to go bankrupt. 3 or 4 good meals out of 20 or 30 per week is far superior to 0. Don't keep junk food in the house. That doesn't mean you live a bleak life bereft of cookies and ice cream, but instead of keeping them readily available in the fridge or pantry, you go out for ice cream. You go out for pizza. Make it an actual treat and build relationships and memories in the process. Severely, and I mean oppressively, limit screen time in all forms. Phones, tablets, PCs, gaming, television. If you don't die on this hill, your kids will die under it. This is necessarily going to include curtailing your own screen time because aside from your own declining health, your screen time is directly affecting how your kids see the world. They are watching everything you do and mimicking much of it. Social media, video games, and nearly everything on TV. Zero upside and catastrophic effects on developing minds. You can't hide from these facts anymore. Next, get your kids out in the world. Get them moving. Get them interacting with other humans. Get them involved in clubs. Get them involved in sports of any kind, particularly team sports. There's no greater catalyst for the cognitive, emotional, and spiritual and physical development of young people than team sports. provided that you can keep the idiot adults away. Team sports creates friction, and kids today desperately need friction. Being part of a team teaches coexistence, compromise, problem solving, conflict resolution tactics, and strategy. Being part of a team will create lifelong bonds and friendships, and it will even teach that you won't get along with everyone. Not everyone will like you, and all of that is not only okay, it's normal. One of the very worst things you could ever do to a kid is isolate them from the world because you are afraid of it for them, or allow them to isolate themselves in an ever-shrinking silo of online activity. You got to let them bump into the walls of real life, or they will be crushed by it as adults. When the world seems overwhelming, what can you do? The catalyst to set all this in motion is to set the example by doing these things yourself. Be the example. Be the change you want to see. This is the most effective method of behavior modification. You can force kids into doing things, but they'll be resentful and never take ownership. You have to drop your ego, sack up, stop trying to be buddies with your kids, and play the long game. You can't tell your kids to get away from the screens when you have your nose buried in yours all the time. You can't force your kids to eat a little better and move a little more when your fat ass has a video game controller in one hand and a bag of chips in the other. You cannot expect your kids to elevate themselves when you won't try to better yourself. And here's the harsh truth. You aren't good enough, and neither are they. Telling them they are is taking away their hope and their future, because you're essentially saying that they've peaked, which means for the rest of their lives, there's only status quo or decline, the same or worse. That's a hell of a message. All right. I've just laid a lot on your plate, but you better unbunch your panties, drop your ego, and suck it up, because that's the world you entered when you brought a child into the world. But I want to give you the gift of a specific, achievable, and relevant first step. Every kid out there, every single one, regardless of age or gender or whatever other excuse you can think of, needs to be participating in scaled strength exercise through resistance training. That's right. Picking up heavy stuff and putting it down. Not cardio, not yoga, not calisthenics or picking daisies, which, all have value and should be endeavored. Strength training. Let me paint you a picture. Childhood obesity will track into adulthood. 8 out of every 10 overweight kids will become overweight adults. Obese kids will carry nearly 4 times the risk of premature death from cardiovascular disease into adulthood. A 2026 review of 67 studies, including over 5,000 obese kids, concluded that the number one action to break that pattern was resistance training. Every metric of health in every subgroup improved as a result of muscular and strength development. Cardiorespiratory fitness went up, visceral fat went down, insulin function improved. The American Academy of Pediatrics specifically recommends starting overweight kids on resistance training before any kind of aerobic exercise because of their lower or even non-existent fitness level. An overweight kid will absolutely hate cardio-based activities simply because of their body composition and potential for failure. Resistance training, on the other hand, it's scalable and provides near immediate physical and psychological feedback and victories. They will see noticeable achievements, and these will engender long-lasting, healthy habits. Here's how to begin. 2 to 3 resistance training sessions per week of around 30 minutes each on non-consecutive days. I can't emphasize strongly enough, don't over-index on this, people. Don't go nuts with training your kids, okay? 2 to 3 resistance trainings per week at around 30 minutes on non-consecutive days is plenty, all right? Start with body weight or light weights if they can handle it. 2 sets of each exercise with around 8 to 12 reps per set. Pick compound exercise that follow the fundamental human movement patterns: push, pull, squat, hinge, rotate, lunge, those things. Make sure their technique is solid before adding weight. Pair exercise with proper nutrition and hydration. Now you have clear evidence and a clear path to begin. Do not get overzealous with any of this. As I said, you have to play the long game with kids. This is about building self-engendering habits that produce meaningful rewards and that they'll carry with them for the rest of their lives. So what are your resources? Not everyone has the means to build a gym or get a gym membership, and honestly, most gyms won't allow little kids anyway. Look around for your most basic resources first. Everyone on earth will have these 2 resources: gravity and your body mass. Push-ups or planks, sit-ups in a million variations, and squats of all kinds. No equipment needed. That's plenty. Local parks, they're great for climbing, core, grip, and general movement. You can use things around your house like soup cans for curls, or put items in grocery bags for weighted carries and other exercises. And your local YMCA, Boys and Girls Club, Planet Fitness, and other private and government entities actually offer free fitness programs for kids, particularly in the summers. You have options. If you're able to spend a little money, a decent set of resistance bands with handles will cost you between $20 and $35. You can get an adjustable dumbbell set with a barbell attachment and, 45 pounds of weights or so for around $70. And there are a million options and variations all the way up to a full power cage with an Olympic bar and like 190 pounds of weights for under $900. Is that a lot? I don't know. Do you have a $1,000 phone? Is your kid's life and health more important to you than doom scrolling social media? By the way, people are always selling fitness equipment. eBay, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, bursting at the seams with decent, used, sometimes barely used fitness equipment at lower cost than new. These are just a few immediate no to low cost and premium options for within your walls and in your community. Now, how about we address the long term? Like the disconnected lunacy, the utter psychopathy of dismantling physical education programs in public schools. Schools have cut PE time to focus on math and reading tests, which you might think sounds good or is a good idea, but there's a direct correlation to poor cognitive skills from lack of activity. Only a few states even require PE in every grade. And also, many high schools now allow online courses to replace PE, online courses. I'm sure that's working out exactly how they intended. Many high schools only require 1 year of PE to graduate. In elementary schools, daily recess and gym are often the first things to cut when money is tight. Modern PE focuses more on lifetime fitness rather than just playing competitive sports, which is translation, we're all going to sit in a circle and tell each other how delightful we are. Come on, man. We talked about how valuable team sports are, okay? Research shows that physical activity helps kids learn better. However, school policies often ignore this data. Now you get up and get to city council and school board meetings. Make noise. Be heard. Most school boards are full of idiot, subcretinous, societal free riders who are afraid of friction and conflict. Get down there and disrupt their destructive agenda. Get coherent PE programs back in school. Demand that some of the $300 billion spent on the top-heavy education system gets to each school in the form of equipment and qualified fitness professionals. All right, now let's shift the focus from strength to fuel. What role does food have in this unfolding drama? Your nutrition is the alpha and the omega of a healthy life. It doesn't matter how much you're moving or lifting if you treat your body like a garbage disposal. Food is fuel. Food is medicine. Food can also be your greatest enemy if you use it improperly. It's tough enough getting your own diet squared away. Doing it for your family is daunting unless you shift your approach. First of all, you aren't a caterer. What's for dinner is what's for dinner. Anybody that doesn't like it, they can starve. Hey, spoiler, they won't starve themselves. They'll be fine. They'll eat what you cook. The initial friction this creates will pay dividends to your family's future wellness and eating habits. You'll develop your kids' sense of gratitude as well as their taste buds. Side note, while you're at it, involve the rest of your family in meal prep. The bonding and learning will be spectacular. You should also do this with grocery shopping. And I want to throw out a little word of warning with feeding your kids. Don't over-index on quote-unquote healthy foods. Don't force everyone to eat nothing but, like kale and organic Peruvian topsoil with a side of tepid water. Kids won't process the complex minutia of pop culture nutritionism. Mac and cheese isn't going to kill anyone. The only thing you're going to do by constantly preaching good nutrition to kids is to have them sneak and binge whatever they can find. Just set the quiet example of preparing well-balanced meals and don't talk it to death. Yes, we want to eat as cleanly as possible, but here's the thing. Kids aren't getting fat and sick from eating processed foods or fast food or bad macro mixes or whatever. They're fat and sick from eating too much, coupled with staring at screens and not moving all day. There's one primary factor to blame: too many calories in versus calories out. If your total daily energy expenditure is 2,000 calories, but you're consuming 3,000 calories on an average day, you're going to get fat. Period. It doesn't matter where those calories come from. Period. Energy balance is the foundation. The more energy you intake from whole foods, the better your overall health, wellness, function, capability, and longevity. But if your TDEE is that 2,000 calories I mentioned, and you eat 3,000 calories of blueberries, yogurt, and cottage cheese, you will be overweight. Learn the following. The law of conservation of energy teaches us that energy cannot be destroyed, only stored or used. In the case of your body, all unused caloric energy will eventually be stored as fat. It's that simple. Obese kids are overeating. And the thing that's going to sting you a little is that obese kids under the age of about 14-ish aren't making very many, if any, of their food choices. You are. Now get out of your feelings, step out from behind your ego, and do better by your kids. The first and best step is for you to be the quiet example. Bring better foods into the house and make balanced family meals. Don't talk about it, be about it. Make breakfast and dinner where you teach by example. The rest of their day, as you know, is largely out of your hands. While they're gone, while they're at school or wherever away from you, out of your hands. You got to set the example of using breakfast and dinner as that foundation for the foods that you introduce to them. As far as treats go, look, I'm pro treat, but you have to be strategic. Don't keep treats in the house, and don't think you can control it by hiding them. Everyone will find your stash. Make treats special by going out for them once or twice per week, and do stuff like designating who gets to pick the treat on a rotating basis. Sweets are fun. They're a fun part of life. Don't deprive anyone of a little junk food every now and then. Lastly, understand calories in, calories out. Have a grasp on what your kids are consuming and how much they are moving. As we said, use resistance training to build lean muscle mass. Let's stop whistling past the graveyard. Put your ego aside and accept that our kids' health is not up to the government or any other mystical, mythological administrator. It's on us. The kids aren't making the decisions that are making them fat and sick. We are. You are your kids' first and most powerful influence. You set the tone. Your children become what they live beside. Let's do better. We got this. You got this. I'm here to help. Now, none of today's message was meant to make you feel guilty. Guilt doesn't build healthy families. Responsibility does. Every parent listening to this has made mistakes. I've made a million. That's part of raising human beings. Nobody gets an instruction manual, and everyone is trying to build the airplane while flying it. But once you know better, you have a responsibility to do better. That's the difference. Your kids don't need perfect parents. They need present parents. They need parents who are willing to adapt and willing to set the example instead of simply giving instructions, because your children are watching and they're listening. They're watching how you eat, how you move, how much you stare at your phone. They're watching how you treat people. They are watching how you respond to difficulty. They're becoming what they live beside. We need capable children. We don't need children who are shielded from every hardship. We need children who are prepared for life, because someday, sooner than you'd like, they'll become the adults responsible for carrying this world. Let's make sure we're giving them strong shoulders to carry the burden. All right, thanks for spending time with me today on Balance Fit Radio. If this conversation resonated with you, share it with someone who might need it. Please like and subscribe, help the podcast grow. Let me leave you with this thought. Comfort that arrests growth is not benevolent. Truth that invites effort is not cruelty. Until we meet again, be capable and resolute and move through life with a sense of purpose. Train to be the right kind of dangerous. And remember, your life, your potential. Peace out, homies, and I'll see y'all next time.